Hi, welcome into another episode of The Blueprint. It is Victory Monday, and Victory Monday is always a little sweeter, Devin, after going into your rival's house and whooping up on the Spartans. Let's just start right there, man. How are you doing on this Victory Monday?
I'm doing great. You saw some things you liked in the game. You saw some things maybe you didn't like. But the most important thing for me is Bryce didn't take a huge leap forward, but he didn't take a step back, right? So that's what you want to see. You don't want to see any regression, maybe an inch forward, but he didn't take any steps back. And yeah, so Jake,
I want to ask you.
this is the last episode for the Semaj thing. We're not going to do it anymore, right? So
yeah.
for the viewers at home, there are going to be times throughout the season because the coaches feel committed to having him on the field, right? So there are going to be times throughout the season for the rest of the season that Semaj does what Semaj has been doing. We aren't going to address it anymore. We're not going to continue to kill this kid because at this point it's coaching malpractice, right? He's not putting himself out there, right? He's made it clear that he's not having the confidence. I don't know what it is, the catching, the whatever it is. But we're not. This is going to be probably the last episode we go into in depth on the things that Semaj did, and the reason we have to this week is because it's kind of stunting the growth of Bryce Underwood the way it's happening, right? And so it's kind of it's hurting the overall goal of a lot of fans is for Bryce Underwood to be the best he can be, and so we're going to address it on this last episode. But after that, I am done. Maybe you want Jake. Maybe you might want to. I'm done. Can't do it anymore.
No, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but I think the reason we're both critical and everybody's critical is because, oh my God, this young team could make the playoffs. This young team can beat Ohio State. This young team, I believe the way the tiebreakers work out, would go to Indianapolis if they went out and beat Ohio State. So that's the opportunity at hand. And that's the standard we're going to hold the team to. But, over the weekend, Brian Kelly gets fired. Obviously, James Franklin got fired. We got head coach openings all across college football of objectively successful programs, and I'm trying to make sense of this, Dev, because we've been critical. I know even in the victory, Michigan fans are left wanting more, especially from the offense. And I can't help but think, man, winning's never been harder. It's never been harder to win. And I think about the offense and I say, there's two ways to look at it. You could just look at the results in a bubble and say, why isn't Michigan better, particularly throwing the ball? But then the other way is to say, this is going to take time. This is a very young offense, a very young quarterback. You're on the road playing a rival that's emptying the clip. I mean, Michigan State, that was the most inspired I've seen them play in a really long time. That team looked like they were, dead. And I just think for Sharon, and as it applies to Bryce, maybe I'll present it as a question. It almost seems like they say, we only have so many bullets in the chamber here. Let's save that for when we need it against Ohio State and therefore play hyper conservative in these situations because, man, did that game plan and the game plan has felt hyper conservative, especially on the road. Is that making sense to you? Do you subscribe to any of that at all?
I hope it's not true. I really hope it's not true because it's so important for Bryce Underwood to develop. And if you're holding back things because you're trying to get ready for Ohio State and putting yourself in a position to lose games that you probably shouldn't lose, going into that game, you don't have everything on the table that you have that you want in front of you, right? And the second thing is his development is so critical because by that game he has to be not a freshman anymore, right? He has to be a sophomore. He has to be worth, all the resources used to make sure he went to Michigan, right? So I hope that's not the case. I think it's more of them trying to help Bryce Underwood. And so here are my takeaways from the game. The game plan was very clear. That's the one thing I do like. Early in the season was times like, what is the game plan? Who are you? What are you trying to do? Like, we have no idea. Well, we know exactly who they are and what they were trying to do, right? The game plan was clear. Cut the field in half, right? Cut the field in half, and you do that with your reads and the pure progression. And also they did a lot more. They've done a lot throughout the season, but I think they did a lot more of sprint out, naked bootleg, getting him on the edge. And so whether you want to cut the field off in half or not, you have to as a quarterback, right? When you're on a sprint out, there is no backside, right? You're cutting that field in half and making it super easy for Bryce Underwood. And then my next takeaway, the two-headed monster of Justin Haynes and
Oh my
and Jordan
goodness.
Marshall, it's dangerous.
Mm.
And it's the most important, I mean, the absolute most important asset to Bryce Underwood's development. It's his biggest ally. If they can continue to run the football the way that they do, they can have these, dare I say, pedestrian type of game plans with the quarterback and allow him to continue to grow. And like I said, it wasn't monumental growth in this game. However, there was growth. And then my last takeaway, I already talked about it, was the Semaj Morgan experiment that I talked about a few weeks ago should be over. It continues, and I'm just telling you that I'm just going to foreshadow this. There's going to be an opportunity if he keeps being put in those positions that he could lose the game for you, right? And
I know.
it may not be the
I
very
hate to
last
say
play
that.
of the game or anything like that. However, it may be in a critical moment during the game that puts you behind the 8 ball, and you saw him get pushed down by Justice Haynes on that play. He blocks nobody. He has opportunity to block people. He's basically in the way. And there's another play I'm going to diagram where it's again stunting the growth of the quarterback because it muddies a picture when you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So that's super unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, but like I said, he's not going to take himself out of the game. So
Yeah.
you can't blame him. You can't blame him anymore, right? His skill set is whatever it is, but if he continues to be put out there and put in situations where he's the main target, that's not on him.
No. And the thing is Semaj, you're a veteran. You're supposed to be one of the leaders on the team. And especially the play where Justice pushed him down you're
I could
blocking
not
no
believe
one.
that.
It didn't look to me like he knew who to block. Well, go block someone.
There's a
Go
bunch of
strain
uniforms.
and block the
There's a
safety.
bunch of green uniforms.
Yeah, and don't tackle your running back or Justice going to stiff arm you into the ground.
I bet you that hurt, though. It looked like it hurt. I actually feel bad a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that was a kidney
I wouldn't want to get in
shot,
front of Justice
a
Haynes.
kidney shot with a full speed running back, and then it's like you add on that it's Justice Haynes, like the running back, and that forearm shiver to the kidney, man. He's probably bleeding inside.
Yeah, I want to add to the running game because I want to give a ton of credit to the offensive line once again.
Nice job.
And I've really kind of had just this like transformative experience. That may be a little dramatic, but I've been thinking about it. And I'm like, man, we were lucky to have back-to-back Joe Moore Award offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And another one that was a finalist. And I think we're judging a young Michigan offensive line based off of that veteran offensive line. And I think I've flipped it and said, I need to give Grant Newsome a ton of credit because of the injuries. Al Hadi's your leader. He's down for some games. Evan Link goes out. In comes Blake Frazier. He looks prepared for the moment. Guanera has had to play center at times. Greg Crippen is, and I say, man, this offensive line has really taken some major strides. And what's encouraging is they should all be back next year for the most part. I think El Hadi is the only one that might be graduating. That is a major, major positive. We're seeing progression over time. The tight ends, great blockers. I'm left once again wondering where they are in the game plan. And Devin, I'm going to kick it to you with this because I know I didn't track how much split safety Michigan State ran, but PFF does track these. There was no attempts over the middle. There was only 3 passing attempts in between the hashes of the entire game, 2 completions, and 1 was a drop to Semaj, the one that hit him in the face mask. So after a week where your 3rd and 4th string tight end are looking like Mackey Award finalists, and then you get Marlon Klein back and they're not in the game plan, especially when you're running the ball. I don't understand the disconnect why that we can't include the tight ends on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, and I think Marlon Klein is limited in a way with his speed. And so it's going to be tough for him to get to the middle a lot of times. And in the defense of Chip Lindsey, Michigan State does do a lot of intricate things that Pro Football Focus won't be able to recognize, where it can muddy the picture for the quarterback. And though it's middle open, they've got speedy players, not linebackers, playing kind of like that in between Tampa 2, right? And that presents issues.
Yeah.
The middle is not technically open, right? And so I think that the game plan was clear because you see that on film, the way they do that, and it's like, this is going to make Bryce take a step back, right? He's never going to trust middle open again because of the way they play middle open, right? So I can kind of understand why you don't try to get there, especially because Marlon Klein, he just doesn't have great speed, right? He's not a guy that's going to blow through the middle.
I don't think he's 100% right now either.
I think that's a big part too. There were a couple instances where he was in the progression he was to read, and he just didn't separate, right? Just didn't
Yeah.
separate, and not as a route runner, just didn't separate with speed, right? And so if you can't separate, then and then the next question will be, well, why not play the young guys that did separate and did do a good job getting to the middle? That is a question for someone above our pay grade. But I'm excited to get to these pictures, and there were some good things, some bad things. There's some good things within some bad things within some good things, and we're going to talk about all of that.
Yeah, and I really, as I say that, I'm like nitpicking, because the ability to be creative in the run game, that is not easy. Like, there's only so many ways and so many plays you could call to hand the ball off, but it's the
How
motions,
about a
it's the
double
shifts,
bluff? Have you ever seen
the
a
double
double bluff for
with
a
two
touchdown?
fullbacks with
Oh,
Hoffman. I
that was
mean,
sweet. That was sweet.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
That was
And
sweet.
then the jet sweep motions and the read option. And you got, I mean, this is the best rushing game in the Power Four statistically. You got two bruising running backs. And that part was outstanding. On the defensive side of the ball, Dev, I mean, I think we got to start with Jimmy Rolder. Career day, one of the best linebacking performances I can remember in recent years. He was everywhere, stuff in the stat sheet. Left the game, it looked like, with like an elbow, shoulder injury, something to really watch here, because he is a complete difference maker for the defense. It just, to me, it feels like Sharon, I think he knows more than we give him credit for. I think he's calling the game and structuring a game plan to say, it's almost like Kirk Ferentz. He understands the limitations and say,
I think it's
this
exactly I
formula.
think it's exactly Iowa. Like,
Yes.
protect the quarterback, right? Make sure, and not protect him as like block. Obviously, you want to protect him as a blocker, but protect him from himself in the pass game. Don't lose the game, because the defense is going to play well. You're going to punt the ball away. You're going to play special teams and allow the other team to feel pressed to make plays. They'll make mistakes, and then you can bury them, right? Now, I think that's a perfect recipe for what Michigan is right now, and where Bryce Underwood is in his growth.
And then at times, and this is where
Michigan fans don't want to hear that, Jake. They don't want to hear that.
But that's okay.
They don't want to hear
if
that.
you beat Ohio State, and if you win out.
If you beat Ohio State, it's fine.
So I feel like it's like, hey, maybe we have 10 to 20 gadget pass plays that we feel great about with our quarterback. Let's not use them all against Michigan State. Let's save them for when we need it, knowing we can win games being conservative, and Sharon will deal with the criticism in the postgame. And if that's the case, great, fine. How about Jair Hill, though? Because I know you're high on Nick Marsh. I'm high on Nick Marsh. When Childs and Marsh and those Michigan State receivers are clicking, that is a dangerous duo and a dangerous passing attack. Jair Hill, I mean, he's playing some damn good football right now. Some damn good football. And I thought that was great to see. Anything stand out to you about the passing defense?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with the front seven that Michigan has, you have to be good in the pass defense. You have to, right? You the quarterbacks go through the entire week watching Barham and Rod Moore and all these guys. Like, they watch so many players that they are going to have to deal with. They know they can't get the ball out quick enough, right? They know that, right? So when they know that, they are going to come in, they are defeated already. I'm just telling you. As a quarterback, when you watch those old Michigan State defenses, when we go into the game plan, it's like, we have to have 7 guys in the block. That means it's not that many guys in the pass pattern, right? I'm not even going to, and I'm still probably not going to have time. That is demoralizing for a quarterback. And so that's what every single quarterback has when they're coming into the Michigan game. And as a defensive backfield, you have to know that and play with confidence and understand that maybe you might get beat sometimes, but you can play very, very aggressively. And I think it allows them to grow and start to feel good about it now. Will we get to a point where offensive lines may be able to protect and the defensive front may not be able to get there? Yes, but we hope that defensive backfield has developed in such a way that now they can play for a very long time. And sometimes if you don't get to the quarterback, they can play against their man. So kudos to them continuing to grow. And the leader of that, I think, especially for the corners, is Jair Hill.
Yeah. And to further emphasize your point about the defensive line, like being a big piece of this, Derek Moore is playing like a man possessed. He's the best defensive lineman. He's your day 2 NFL draft pick. Last 5 games, so basically in conference play, 6.5 sacks, 19 pressures. He is just completely dominating his one-on-one matchups. Washington tried to put a tight end on him last week. Never do that. It looked like he was like, that's disrespectful. And he has been completely dominant. All right, we'll step aside for our first break here. And we're going to ask you guys once again to like and subscribe. I mean, the growth has been exponential this year. We really appreciate it. And the reason you guys subscribe, I'm sure, is for DG's quarterback breakdown. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that send button. Send it to your friends and family. And on the other side of the break, we will see what Devin saw from Bryce Underwood in his quarterback breakdown. All right, we'll see you in a few. Support for the Blueprint comes from Google. Being a college football fan these days means you're part analyst, part GM, and part rules expert. The game is just so much more complex than it used to be.
1 minute, you're trying to decode X's and O's. The next, you're debating the transfer portal. This is what college football fandom is all about. And AI mode in Google search is perfect for it. It's built to handle all the nuanced, complicated questions that go way beyond the simple stat.
You can ask it to do a deep dive on strategy, like break down how the spread offense compares to the pro style offense based on philosophy and pace.
Or you can pivot to a more off the field elements and ask, what are the main reasons why there are more college football player transfers in recent years?
You can even get real-time analysis, like asking, how have this year's college football rule changes impacted the season so far? AI mode pulls all that info together for you.
Whether you're worrying about a complex scheme or a new rule or why your favorite team's roster looks so different every single year, you can just ask Google.
Hi, welcome back into the Blueprint. We appreciate you guys hitting that like and subscribe button. And as promised, it's DG's quarterback breakdown. I do have to correct myself, though. Not on Jimmy Rolder having a career game. He had a career game, but it was Cole Sullivan that left with the injury. And that duo has proven to be one of, if not the best linebacking duos in all of college football. We will be closely monitoring and watching the injury update of Cole Sullivan in hopes that those guys are both healthy down the stretch of the season. All right, I'm done. Devin, you have the floor. What'd you see over the weekend?
All right. We want to see improvement every single week, of course. How big that improvement is, you're going to vary every single time. However, there is improvement. There wasn't regression, and that's perfect for what we want. So let's move to the photos. Now, this is a play. It's a pick play. You know, people run it all the time. You're going to get Donovan McCulley heading to the back of the end zone. There are going to be a lot of options here, right? But the most important part of this play is the next photograph. It's 3rd and 3. You have a pick play called, right, where and if you're the player that is being picked for, you should go vertical and then sneak underneath the picker, right? You got the tight end in perfect position to basically screen but not hit the guy, right? You take your defender up, you sneak underneath, and you come out wide open. Well, that's not what happened. That is not what happened. What actually happened is Semaj went over the top. And though I don't know the play call exactly, you can see the posture of the tight end. He's clearly trying to get in a position to make sure that he picks for Semaj Morgan. And when we go to the next picture, you're going to see this is what we in football call FUBAR. You can imagine what the F stands for, but the U stands for up beyond all reason, right? You insert F word, up beyond all reason. That is a
fudged up beyond all reason.
That is, as a quarterback, as an older quarterback, you do not want to see this, right? What you're seeing in the middle of your screen. However, as a freshman quarterback that's still developing, you certainly do not want to see this. And you know what the most difficult part about this to accept is? On the next picture, if you just disperse and it all clears out, you're going to see a Andrew Marsh in the back of the end zone separating on a dig route. So, though Bryce Underwood has pressure in his face, he's shown that, hey, I've got my nerve back. I'll stand in there and take the shot and make the throw. He'll be able to fade back and just layer this ball into the end zone for a touchdown, which we know moving forward, the goal is to beat who? Ohio State. Right? So if that's your goal, you got to come away with touchdowns because their offense is coming away with touchdowns. So we talked about it early. This is going to be the last episode where we go through these instances where Semaj is making the play not work. However, this is hurting the growth of Bryce Underwood because he has a real opportunity to put good stuff on film so he can see it and see himself doing it. And then moving forward, he has all the confidence in the world to make these types of plays when we need it most. And we know when that is. Yeah. Move on.
Yeah, down in the red zone too, Dev, real quick. I mean, it's players, not plays. It is, I mean, just look at the amount of grass that Michigan has to work with here. It's 15, 20 yards maximum. You're not going to get guys wide open. So that puts an added importance on everyone doing their assignment. When you mess up, look at that there. It's not just these two guys running into each other. That has like a 10-yard radius effect of cloudy, muddying the picture for your quarterback.
Yeah.
And these are veteran players, can't have it down in the red zone.
Yeah, can't have it anywhere, honestly. But down in the
Anywhere,
red
yes.
zone, the emphasis, like you said, is of the highest order. Let's move on to the next pictures. Now, we saw this last week, and they recycled it over and over again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then you build stuff off of it. They did it in the naked bootleg action. They did it in the drop back action. This is sale. You learned this a week ago, right? Pure progression, but not the across the board pure progression. It's top to bottom. Number 1, number 2, number 3, as you can see. Move on. And remember, last week, he threw it to the flat right away. It was a great decision. Now you get a different picture, right? You got cover 4 to this side, right? And it doesn't matter what the other side is doing. This is cover 4 to this side. And what cover 4 means, these two players are going to take half of the football field and they're going to split it in a fourth, right? So they go vertical. Now, I want to talk about the disciplined eyes of Marsh. He goes on a kind of an out and up here, right? Where he ends up in that sail position, right? So it's a different look for the same play. He looks back at the quarterback. If he doesn't give eyes to the quarterback, it doesn't disarm number 7, the corner. What do I mean by that? If the corner knows that he's going to end up in his third, right, he's going to play it. He's going to pass that post off, and he's going to play it. Because he looks to the flat, he's like, oh, he's in the flat. That's not my responsibility. So he continues to carry. Move on to the next picture. Now it's up to Donovan McCulley to take 2. He's a sacrificial lamb. You take 2 guys out, and now you're going to allow Marsh, who's going to now turn up. He's going to be in the hole, wide open. Move on to the next picture. Now, this is a plus for Bryce Underwood. He sees it happening. Marsh is not ready for the ball, but he's throwing it with anticipation. That's something that we wanted to see him continue to improve on, and this is an opportunity here. This flat defender can't be right. Now, would Bryce Underwood be wrong if he threw it to the flat? I would not be mad at him. Give it to the flat and see if he can make a guy miss. However, you don't want to turn down open guys downfield to check the ball down. So he can't be right. If he comes up, you throw it behind him. If he comes back, you throw it to the flat. He kind of stays in that kind of muddy middle area. So if you anticipate, you're going to get a wide open Marsh. Great job, a perfect job of taking 2 by Donovan McCulley. Yeah. And let's move on to the next picture. So
can we go back to, or are you going to the next player? Or
yeah,
okay.
We're still in the same picture. The next picture is going to see the completion. However, it's a throw that you just got to make a better throw because this is a touchdown.
Yep.
Right? Number 7, he's in a full sprint to the middle. He still doesn't know the ball's caught. He has no idea. So if you can give this a much more catchable, lofted throw, right, it allows Marsh to catch this ball and sprint to the end zone like we've seen him do before, right? So that's a plus and a minus, right? A plus for Bryce Underwood with anticipation, knowing where to go with the football, understanding what the defense is trying to do. Obviously, a plus for Marsh. However, a minus on the throw because you want to give him a more catchable ball so he doesn't have to jump, catch, fall. He can catch and get some yards after the catch. Go ahead.
And a plus for Andrew Marsh's hamstring flexibility right there too.
Oh my goodness,
impressive position.
That's incredible.
Can we go back 2 pictures to the one where this one right here. So, or go back one more. Actually, I want to say. Okay, yeah. So this is when to our viewers, you see quarters in here zone coverage. Zone becomes man based on certain rules. So as McCulley's pushing vertical, as long as he stays vertical, and like Dev says, you see number 7 looking at Andrew Marsh, as long as 7 doesn't see any indication that Marsh is going to break up, 7 locks on McCulley. The safety also locks on McCulley. And the beauty here, Dev, to me, is what Chip Lindsey does. That guy that's trailing Marsh is the flat defender. You put him in a real bind by having Marlon Klein run on the slide route. So the flat defender, he's wrong either way he spins it. And because of the boot action, Marsh can sell this out and up. It's not one step. He actually is literally running an out route before he breaks up. So it truly for Michigan State, it's an impossible play to defend based on this coverage.
Yeah, and Adam, go back one more picture because I want to explain something that Chip Lindsey's doing that I don't think people noticed. You see this drawing, right? It's different than what actually happened. However, for the quarterback, everybody ends up where Sale ends up, right? So even though it presents something different for the defense, even though the receivers are actually running different routes, where they end up is exactly where they're ending up on Sale. That's why I have it drawn as Sale every single time, because that's what you want to do. You give a different look, but for the quarterback, he's not rethinking. It's not a new play. It's the same play, but it looks entirely different to the defense.
right? And that's the goal of a coordinator. That is a true good coordinator, understanding how you can get the same look for your quarterback with his eyes, right? Not try to reinvent the wheel with new plays. However, it looks totally different for the defense, and you can get guys open. I love that, right? So this is going to be out and up and a post, but it's sail. It's just sail. And I love the simplicity of what Chip Lindsey is doing to help his quarterback.
And Bryce is part of it too. Like you're comfortable throwing to certain spots on the field. Bryce loves throwing outside those numbers, man. He loves whether it's a true sail route, the one-on-one go balls, jump balls. It seems like he's comfortable throwing to that spot on the field too.
And that's every young quarterback. Yeah. You know, nobody, because as much as you think being tall helps you in the pocket, it doesn't. You can't see over the middle, really. You can't truly see what they're doing. And so it deters young quarterbacks from throwing over the middle. And even older quarterbacks, it's just not something you're comfortable doing if it's not clear and sunny, right? But on that outside, there's no blocking you. You can see everything happening as it goes. And so it's just a comfortability. And as you get older and as timing gets better and as you trust your wide receivers more and as you understand coverage and where guys are supposed to be and where they're going to be, you can anticipate through that middle. And when you get that, which we're going to see a little bit here in a few pictures, once you get that consistently, you're unstoppable. Let's go to the next play. Now, this is a first down call. I love it. It's, again, a sprint out, and they go with a switch release, and Donovan McCulley's going to be vertical up the seam as well, and the tight end is going to switch release and run kind of a hook route, right? So you can think of it as kind of like smash, right? And obviously McCulley's not going to the corner. However, that vertical with a kind of a stop route, it's in the quarterback's mind, it's like, okay, I'll just read this like smash, right? So, and you'll learn what smash is in a couple pictures. So you get the sprint out, move on to the next picture, and Bryce Underwood has shown that he can run left, he can run right and throw it. He makes the right throw, he makes the right read. However, the next step for Bryce Underwood, you've got nobody back there. Throw him open, right? And that's what elite quarterbacks do. Yeah, the route is for him to go vertical, but you take him over with a nice loft, layer that ball up in the middle, and allow him to sprint to that football to the open space, and now you're playing elite quarterbacking, and you're not just throwing anymore. Now you're passing at an elite level. So this is an incomplete pass. However, there are steps that can be taken, and this could be a huge play, and it'll give Chip Lindsey the confidence to continue to call these pass plays on first down.
I saw this exact play. Let's go back one picture because it helps. You see that safety to Bryce Underwood's right. He's standing right between the 40 and the hash.
Mm-hmm.
They did a flash play action. And why this is important, Dev, is this is how teams are going to play Michigan until they start to really complete these down the field. Once Bryce flashes the handoff to Justice Haynes, that safety triggers, and it ends up working out like a zero coverage, Dev, because the corner ends up in man-to-man. That safety guards, I think that's Bredesen or one of the safeties on the hash. Yeah. There's no one deep because of how successful Michigan's been running the ball. So I think what you're saying is put some air underneath it.
Let him run and get it. Let
throw him touch
away.
It or a DPI or something. Put some air under it.
Yeah, it was a good defensive play by the defender, but if you throw him across the field, it's indefensible. You can't chase a guy all the way across the field. Either you pass interfere or you get a catch for a touchdown. Yeah. Let's go to the next play. Do we have it already here? Yeah, of course. So this is smash, right? So everybody just remember, so when we say smash, we don't have to keep revisiting it. Smash, you got a corner and you got a flat, right? It could be a hitch. It could be a running flat, whatever it is. You got a corner and you got a flat. High, low read. This is pure progression in a simplified way, and here's why. Move on to the next picture. You got 1A and 1B together, right? So you don't have you have two options here. Really, you got three at the bottom, but you usually won't get there because of the protection and what will happen. You got 1A, 1B. You kind of read it together. And if you look, you have three green uniforms. One over the top, one in between, one low. 3 over 2. That's not where you want to be, right? However, you can't not look at it first, right? Number 2 is going to be, again, Semaj coming into a window that looks very muddy right now, but you're going to see this back view, and it's really going to show you how Bryce Underwood is progressing. Let's move on. All right, so you can see he goes with his eyes, 3 over 2. You don't want that, right? And what we've seen from Bryce early in the season is he goes there, and then he starts to run and kind of – because look at the picture. You can't really see what's happening down the middle of the field. This is what I'm talking about. It's very difficult to play quarterback because of that. You really can't see what's happening down the middle of the field, right? So he started to run and do those different things early in the season. However, this is progression. These are steps forward, right? He goes eyes out to the outside, and then the next picture, you'll see
his eyes go right to where number 2 is going to be. And you can see Semaj is getting there. This is an open window at this level, period. It looks ridiculous. Fans looking at this are like, what? That's an open window? There's no receiver getting there. He'll be there. You have to trust that he will be there. So look at Bryce Underwood's posture. This ball is coming out now. And that's exactly what you want to do. That is anticipatory passing. Anticipatory passing. Anticipate what's going to happen, which means you anticipate what the defense is going to do, but you also anticipate what your wide receivers are going to do, because you know, and you let it rip with confidence. Next picture. Confidence, conviction. And then there's calamity, right? So you got confidence, conviction from Bryce Underwood. That ball's out early. You can see the ball right there in a tight window. This is an NFL level window. Not a lot of space to throw this football. If he doesn't anticipate, there's no chance of a completion. He anticipates, he gets it out early. The ball is exactly where it's supposed to be. It hits him on the shoulder pad, and then calamity. Can we get the definition of calamity, please, Adam? An event causing great and often sudden damage or distress. A disaster. And people want, well, it's just an incompletion, right? It's not a disaster. It is a disaster. You want to know it's a disaster? Because every single rep is of the utmost importance. You have to continue to take steps for Bryce Underwood. Now, this is not a rep he can continue to draw upon because it's an incompletion. He did an outstanding job. He did everything perfect. He played that play like a veteran quarterback. And then calamity. The ball is just dropped.
Look at the sentence.
Explained.
It says the journey had led to calamity and ruin. The pass play had led to calamity and ruin.
Calamity and ruin. You got to stop with this. But that is a great improvement for Bryce Underwood that he will not be able to watch on a highlight clip or anything because of the drop. Hopefully, inside, he's like, hey, I am figuring it out. Right? Because when you look at the end of the game, you see his stats. You know, as much as you try not to pay attention to that stuff, it's like, under 50%, that's not good, right? I couldn't have improved that much, but that is improvement.
Go back to that first picture. I want to go. I just want to go through this one more time because there's so many layers. Dev, Michigan State is showing zero. They're showing an all-out blitz here. So then go to the next picture. This is when a young quarterback might get happy feet, but they drop out of it. Okay, go to the next picture. Just like you were saying, Bryce is stepping up into a clean pocket, even though the picture pre-snap said all-out pressure. So he read that. He's looking right into the middle of the field. He's throwing with anticipation, like the next picture says. This is an A. Everything in his control is A+ here, Dev. A+.
Calamity.
Damn.
I was looking for a C word because, you know, you got to stay consistent. Confidence, conviction. Calamity. It's perfect. It's the perfect word, and it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. However, like I said, this last episode, we're doing the Semaj thing. If they're gonna continue to pass him out there, it's gonna be on them, and we're gonna judge it accordingly. But we're not gonna continue to kill Semaj, right? He's lost a little bit of his confidence, and that has happened to many people in the past, right? We've had teammates that are great teammates that have lost their confidence. I've lost my confidence before, and you would hope that your coaching staff protects you, and they haven't. They haven't. So. Next picture. Now, here we go again. Sale, right? Now it's the traditional way, right? You're going to get Marsh. He's going to come on that deep out route. And again, you got Donovan McCulley. He's the number one. We have to remember this. He's still number one, even though oftentimes and pretty much every time he seems like he's in that sacrificial lamb position. He's still number one because at some point, somebody's going to drop the coverage. At some point, they're going to play cover 4. The safety is going to go and play that out route, and he's going to have all the space in the world to run a post on a cornerback, and that's going to be a touchdown. However, until they do that, you've got Donovan McCulley as number one. He's done. The X is on him for a reason. He takes 2. And then you have a flat and a sail route, right? A deep out. The triangle you see, that's the read. That's the read. And so you can see this time it's from behind the center, right? It's in the pocket. Last time it was out on the edge. You have to make sure this guy is wrong, period. You make him wrong with the throw. You can see his posture. He's not going to be able to get the depth to make sure he gets to Marsh. A perfect throw on the outside, and it's on first down. Outstanding job of Lindsey finding out what is Bryce most comfortable with. Well, you've seen Sale on this show quite a bit, haven't you? That's because he's comfortable with it. And guess what? You lean into that first, but you also find different ways to get to basically the same play, which they did on the previous pictures we talked about.
This was a big time throw.
Yeah, it's layered right over his hands, right
Beautiful.
into Marshall's arms. It's outstanding. Outstanding throw.
He's showing some great stuff, man. And Chip, I think the progression, the offense has been outstanding. I love how they're getting him on the move a bit too. Like, how big is that for you as a
You have to.
quarterback, Dev?
You have to. Especially when you're not seeing it well, you have to get on the move because, like I said, from my takeaways, you cut the field in half. When you cut the field in half, you got defenders on the backside wasting, right? You're wasting defenders. And you get your guys on the outside, and then you get to hit those guys on the run, those talented wide receivers. I mean, it's good to see. Now, you want to continue to see steps. Like I said, this wasn't a monumental step forward for Bryce. Last week was monumental. That was a huge step. Huge step. But this week, smaller step, but no regression. That's all we care about. No regression, because guess what? Ohio is not for a decent amount of time. Now, that time is getting smaller and smaller. However, they are out in front, and we're not prepared for them yet, and we shouldn't be, right? You continue to get better, improve. And by that time, you're exactly where you want to be. When the smoke settles and the dust clears, you're going to be right where you want to be, but you got to continue to move forward. There's no time from here on out to take steps back. I think we have maybe one more picture, I think.
In particular on the
Maybe
road,
not.
too, as we get ready to pull that up, because you look at what the Oklahoma game plan was, what the USC game plan was, and this one, I see progression. It's not infinite, but it's clear progression from the playbook, from the trust in Bryce, and from Bryce's execution. And another thing, too, this will be the last one I say. I know we said we're done saying it. It wasn't just Semaj with the drops earlier. It was everybody, and the drops have really been minimized outside of Semaj for the most part.
Well, yeah, because you only throw to one and you throw to four.
Yeah.
and
they don't drop
mix the tight ends here. They just don't drop it for the most part. Now, there are other plays on this film where you could have, put it on and say, hey, Bryce has to do a better job here. Bryce has to do a better job there. But there was nothing glaring, right? There are a couple up the sideline throws that maybe had a little bit too much heat, want to have some pace, get the ball up, allow your receiver to go up and get it. But with that, Donovan McCulley, and for viewers and listeners, listen, when you're a wide receiver and you're running verticals on the outside, they used to have a red line, or we had a blue line because of Ohio, right? We had a blue line that's about 5 yards from the sideline, right? The goal is, and it was only in practice, the goal was to make sure you stay on that line and allow the quarterback to throw the ball and fade you away from the defense. If you run up the sideline, it makes it increasingly difficult to make the throw, right? So there have been times where Donovan McCulley has run up the sidelines. And as much as it looks like a bad throw and all those different things, it's nowhere for the quarterback to throw the ball. And so McCulley's still developing as a wide receiver. His physical gifts are incredible, right? But he's, as far as being a technician as a wide receiver, he's still developing. So he has to remember, with a young quarterback especially, I have to hold my line and give him somewhere to throw that football. And it's happened on a number of instances. I hope that's something that they kind of get a hold of, right? Figure that out, because there are some opportunities down the field that you can hit that you're not hitting right now because of the structure and where the wide receiver is running down the sideline. And Bryce Underwood, I'm just telling you, no matter who the quarterback is, it's difficult to make that throw. And in a lot of instances, it's almost impossible, especially with good coverage, right? Because McCulley's not a huge separator, but he separates when the ball gets there. Right? He's not a huge separator by just speed, but he separates when the ball gets there because of his length and his ability to go up and get the football. So that's something that McCulley can improve on to also help Bryce Underwood's development. But like I said, small step forward, no regression.
Yeah. And that's the beauty. That's why you guys like and subscribe, because you're not going to get that analysis anywhere else. It's not just the box score. Dev's going to point out when Bryce does his job and the other guys have fallen short. And that gives you the context. You'll see the progression and the progress going into this final stretch, which we could see Michigan competing for a Big Ten championship in a playoff spot. If they play to their best, that will be the standard. All right, final break here. On the other side, I got a few pictures, and then we'll do a quick preview of the Purdue game. So after this quick break, we'll see you guys on the other side. All right, welcome back into the Blueprint as we wind down this episode on Victory Monday, in which Michigan dominated their rivals, Michigan State Spartans. I have a few plays I want to go to, Devin. You laid it out perfectly with the passing game and Bryce Underwood. I wanted to highlight some of the keys in the run game and Chip Lindsey's ability to present the defense some other looks. So let's pull this up here. This is 4th and 1, the very first 4th down in the game. And Michigan's going to do what they do. They're going to run it into a cloudy, muddy picture. The Michigan teams that won championships got this yard through pad level, technique, fundamentals, and strength. Where we've been frustrated is when the offensive line has fallen short. So let's go to this next picture, and I want to lay out the key blocks here. Left tackle, he's going to have man on the outside. That's Bredesen coming in motion from the backside. He's going to block that number 23 on the edge of the line of scrimmage. In red there is the key blocks. Those three, the left guard, right guard, and center, have those three, the 2 D tackles and the linebacker. What is really important here is Michigan State is going to have movement right at the snap. So technique and fundamentals and communication are absolutely imperative here. You have to be flat with your steps. You have to be on the same level so these O-linemen can pass it off. And then you have to have patience climbing to the second level because this is an A-gap run. Let's go to the next picture and you're going to see it play out. There's the movement. I highlighted in red. That's your right guard and center handling the movement that came to you. Greg Crippen, look where his eyes are. He's in perfect position to pass off 88 to his right guard, but notice his eyes. He sees the movement. He's going to then collect that slanting defensive end. And then El Hadi at left guard, he is still flat, passing off the defensive end to Crippen, but also notice his eyes as he's getting ready to climb and form the wall on number 10. Excellent, excellent stuff there. I'll also highlight backside. Look at Marlon Klein. Look at where his hat is on number 9, inside of the defender. Great job forming the wall. Okay, next picture. This is where it all comes together. Number 5 is unblocked. Look at those 2 circles. Number 5 is unblocked in the hole, but you block him with Bryce Underwood selling the fake. He doesn't need to be blocked. He's going to go with Bryce on the fake. To have this kind of hole, Dev, on 4th and 1 early in the game where everybody is fresh, this is just outstanding stuff from the offensive line. I give credit to Grant Newsome once again getting this group rolling.
Point you highlighted is Bryce Underwood is so important on this play because if not, you're going to have – I mean, we think that 22 is going to run right over 5 to get a yard. However, what if he doesn't? Right? You want him to freeze a little bit, and when you have the quarterback, like the quarterback can't see in the pass game like we talked about, linebackers can't see what's going on. He doesn't know for sure that Bryce doesn't have the ball, and if Bryce has the ball, you're going to have some issues. So he has to at least freeze. Maybe not chase Bryce, but he has to freeze. And the second he freezes, I don't think people understand how fast things happen. All he needs to do is freeze for a half a second. And if he freezes for a half a second, that's 22 through the hole.
Yeah. It's a great point. And this is what it looks like when everyone comes together and everyone does their job, not just knowing their assignment, but having the right technique, hat placement by Marlon Klein, the communication and footwork by the center, right guard, left guard, just great stuff. That's how you crack off an explosive on a 4th and 1 muddy picture A-gap run. Great stuff. All right.
The only guy that can stop it is the umpire. He's in perfect position.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be the umpire. That's got to be scary seeing Justice Haynes run it downhill at you. So
this isn't the play.
All right. Well, I got some good stuff coming for you. All right. These are going to be back-to-back plays. And I just love the play call here by Chip Lindsey. This is not something that they've shown consistently on the year. This might be the first time that they've actually done this. You and I ran a very similar screen against Ohio State way back in the day here.
This was a staple of our offense. We threw it to you. We threw it to Vincent Smith. We threw it to Fitzgerald Toussaint. I mean, everybody got a taste of this throwback screen.
It's misdirection and how you sell this to the defense. That's quads strong. It's 4 strong. Okay. So Michigan State is saying all of the threat to the Michigan State defense is to their left. Let's go to the next picture and let's show you how this plays out. So you see, not only that, Bryce Underwood is rolling to the right, which would be the left of the defense. Here comes that smash concept outside that you've highlighted, Dev, something they love. The 2 defenders are running out-breaking routes. That's Max Bredesen sealing the edge as if this is a true sprint out option to the right. Donovan McCauley is running a shallow route backside that's going to turn into a block. And then the footwork by Haynes. He's not just going backside now. He's also starting to the right initially, and you can just see the beginning of this play.
He's got to be Denzel Washington.
Start to turn.
He has to be Denzel Washington.
Yes.
He has to be the best actor.
Yes.
He has to win a Golden Globe. I think they get Golden Globes for acting, right? Yeah, I think so. He needs to be the best actor there. He needs to be Meryl Streep, right? Yep. He has to make sure that he basically becomes invisible to the pursuit.
He has to pretend like he just is a terrible blocker. He has to pretend that he can't see these guys coming so that they don't see him. And they're like a blind dog in a mean house, just chasing after the quarterback. He doesn't see me coming. Yeah, because I'm about to throw a screen right over your head, goofy.
Yep. Blind dog in a meat house is exactly how this one worked out. So we'll go to the next
I smell
picture.
the meat. It's somewhere. It's it's behind me.
And this is how now not only do you get an easy completion, you have white jerseys with not enough green jerseys to account for and block. So this is just a great scheme and way to use formations and motions pre-snap, easy completion for your quarterback. Look at Greg Crippen, your big center. He's got to run a long way, straining to block for his running back. A nice job to get an explosive down in the high red zone where yards are hard to come by on the screen. Great job. This will lead us into the next picture because this is the very next play. Here comes the double bluff that you talked about earlier. So
on that last picture, Jake, I'm going to tell you, Chip Lindsey has worked with Al Borges. I guarantee that play has been talked about between those two. And it's like, hey, how can we implement this? Hey, we're running a lot of sprint out. I'm sure Borges said, hey, you run a lot of sprint out. Take this play that was a staple of your offense and my offense and run it. I'm telling you. And that is a perfect job because all great coordinators, they're collaborative. They understand that, hey, you can steal from others, steal like an artist. Most artists steal. You steal great plays from other people and implement it into your offense the way you do it, and that's a perfect example of it.
It's a great point too because it protects your sprint out. It's a way to complement what's become a base play and give the defense layers and elements to think of. This is also something we ran with Borges too. The bluff. I don't know.
We did the single bluff.
We did the single bluff.
This double bluff is another level. This is bluff on steroids.
Yes, and what I love about this, of course, Max Bredesen's going to be in there with the double bluff, but you also got Hoffman. So you got two fullback type elements that are going to lead your quarterback around the play. So here's the keys that happen. I highlighted the double team there, left guard, left tackle. They are going to double team that down lineman, and then they're going to form the wall on number 5. You're going to leave number 10 unblocked because you have two bluffers to account for him. 41 is also unblocked because Bryce is going to read him. I believe this was a keep all the way. So we'll go to the next picture. Here's the read look. The defensive end actually doesn't bite on it, but Bryce does a good job dancing with him as if he's going to run inside before then breaking to the outside. Great block, the yellow circle there on the right side of your screen by the wide receiver. He is the one to spring this play and get it going. He's sealing his man, and then you see Max Bredesen and Jalen Hoffman. They're leading the way. Let's go to the final picture because it's going to show us something here. Great job straining down the field. Hoffman is going to have a crackback, a legal crackback block, and Bryce Underwood is going to be into the end zone. I'll end with this point, Dev. I believe Michigan saw something on Michigan State's film. They have trouble with contain. They get greedy with their eyes, and they come up inside, and all of a sudden, Bryce Underwood pops one to the outside. Justice Haynes popped multiple plays to the outside. I believe that this was discussed during film and scouting, that as long as we sell our initial first, second, third step downhill, you can then pop it and get to the edge for explosive plays. Michigan had a few explosive plays, popping runs to the outside.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is what you want to see, man. Look at there's nobody even really to block, honestly. Like
he's
you're out
almost.
there, and he didn't get touched. He walked right into the end zone. He's untouched into the end zone. Anytime you can get that, and you're exactly right. When I had Michigan State against Nebraska, that was a point of contention, being able to secure the edge and make sure you don't let guys out in the run game and a lot of times in the pass game. So it's good that they scouted that and understand. And you have this kind of specialty-like play. This is not a play that you're going to run all the time. However, when you throw a play like this out, it just confuses the defense because they've never seen it, right? And so I love this. Keep this in the back pocket. Maybe you're not going to run this next week. You're not going to run it the week after that. But maybe the week after that, it comes back, right? So, and then you can have things off of it as well. Outstanding job. I think Chip Lindsey's done well. I think he's really done well with the run game, figuring out the offensive line combination, knowing who, and you gave some love to Grant Newsome, and I want to give a little more to him just because he was under fire.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasts, casual fans, tweeters, they were on him and saying he is overwhelmed, he needs to be fired, he can't do the job.
And my whole thinking always was he was far too good as a player before injury and far too smart as a human to not have it figured out. He's going to figure it out. Right now, there are things that you have in camp and in spring ball and different things like that where offensive line you thought you could depend on, you probably can't. Right? You thought they knew this, but they didn't. And that's growing as a coach. Like, hey, maybe he assumed some things that he shouldn't have. Right? Maybe that's the case. But he's, like I said, far too good as a player before injury. I think he'll be a 10-year pro at least if he hadn't had that injury. And then far too smart as a human. He's learned from a lot of people that are smart. I don't think that was ever the case, that he was overwhelmed and it was too much for him. But he is still a learning coach, right? Just like you have learning players, a learning quarterback. And I think he deserves some of that grace. Now, it hurts him when you have the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line so many years, and now you see the offensive line not playing well. However, the last few weeks, in both the run and the pass game, they've played really well, and it's helped the development of Bryce because it has helped the run game, and everything has tied together perfectly. So I really look forward to seeing them continue to take steps forward. Right? Let's get back to Bryce. Remember, most of the plays need to be pure progression. And then when it's not pure progression, Chip Lindsey needs to know exactly what defense they're going to play, and Bryce Underwood needs to know exactly where the ball is going to go, right? Didn't see a bunch of that second piece in the game this past week, but I understand it because of what we outlined earlier. But moving forward, you just got to continue to take those steps forward, and I think that this Michigan football team will be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, and with Grant, with Chip, with Sharon, and to go back again to consider where we're at in college football. Brian Kelly gets fired. James Franklin gets fired. Everyone's getting fired. Patience pays off. Patience pays off as long as you see progression. It's undeniable, the progression of the offensive line, of Bryce, of the offense, of the team. Since that USC game, this has looked like a completely different team. We'll talk about it real quick. Purdue comes to town this weekend, night game. I'll be on the call. I can't wait for it. Purdue is a dangerous offense. That is my biggest concern. I think Michigan should be able to do whatever they want offensively with the ball in their hands. But Purdue is a gimmicky offense. They run these little modern read option, triple option type plays. They got a mobile quarterback, a lot of trick plays. They've put up points on a number of quality defenses. That, to me, is going to be the key to this game. Michigan should win this game, but it is a bit of a dangerous game in that sense.
Yeah, their quarterback, he reminds me of Sorsby that plays for Cincinnati.
A great comp.
A year ago, Sorsby, super dynamic, but he just had all these bonehead plays a lot of times. Like, what was that? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? And it's just because he hadn't gotten the reps, right? Now you see Cincinnati's a real contender. They could end up in the playoff when it's all said and done and maybe win the Big 12 championship. And it's because he's playing so much cleaner. He's playing clean football, and it's because of the reps he's gotten. I think this kid is Brendan Sorsby a year ago, right? He's not quite there yet. However, he's dangerous with his legs, and he can show flashes of brilliance. And you just hope that brilliance doesn't shine against Michigan. So, like you said, I think you nailed it on the head because everybody's going to see Purdue and think, oh, they're just going to cakewalk and dominate this game. Well, you have that gimmicky style. Not to mention, it's basically like playing Army with better athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a quarterback from a shotgun. You know what? It's just so difficult, and it's always scary. The thing you have to do, you got to bury them. You can give them no breath. And make sure they know from the start, and so that you can kind of play as a front runner as the game goes on.
The defense that needs to show up is the defense that played against Washington with their mobile quarterback. The defense that cannot show up is the defense that played against USC with some of their option type offenses. And as long as Michigan can make them drive the ball, we cannot give up 60, 70, 80-yard touchdowns, drive the ball, tackle in space, and then run the ball and control the game. Michigan should feel very good about their chances. So,
and the true Michigan fans know that Purdue. Where is the game? Is it at Michigan?
It's in Ann Arbor. Yeah.
So remember, Justin Siller came into Ann Arbor. You don't remember this? I just remember because I was a fan of Justin Siller. He's a quarterback that played in Michigan. He was playing tight end all year. Then they put him in at quarterback. He was a mobile guy, and it was a calamity. It was calamity. And we cannot allow that. You cannot allow that. You have to come. You have to make sure they know right away. Do not let them hang around and bury them. And you bury them with the run game, the play action, getting Bryce Underwood on the edge, and on defense playing sound, not allowing the window dressing and the different things, the different movements that they do to confuse you. Yeah, I give a ton of credit to Purdue's head coach Barry Odom. I mean, this was a
down team last year. They were beaten and battered emotionally, spiritually, but they've been playing very, very hard, and they've been close in a number of games. They've been close. They're probably just a year away, but that doesn't mean anything as far as this weekend goes. They have the ability to threaten you with when they have the ball in their hands. Michigan, no time to relax, understanding the opportunity that they have ahead of themselves. So awesome show again, man. Great to see you. Appreciate the quarterback breakdown. We appreciate you guys hitting that like and subscribe button. We will see you next week for another episode of The Blueprint. Thanks for tuning in.